Break free from the constraints of everyday life. Embody the full spectrum of your being. Live from your unique, authentic design and share who you are with the world. What would it be like to be free of tension, conditioning, programming, and identities keeping you small? Isn't it time for more fulfilling relationships, true natural health, and living your full potential and freedom with ease and power? Your breath, the way you were designed, is the key to the doorway back to the trueness of you. You can find us at door.co, DAUR.co. Now, welcome to the podcast. Are you breathing? What if I told you you were spellbound? Wherever you keep yourself small, wherever you hold yourself back, wherever you put on masks, and wherever you perform, this can show up in any aspect of your life, in any area of your life where there's relationship. Your first relationship is with you. So if you are spellbound, less of your potential is going to be expressed. It's one of the main reasons that I wrote Spellbound No More, Door's flagship book. And we share how the freedom process can set you free from the binding that has happened. Jenny and I were just talking about this the other day. It's one of our favorite conversations.
It is. Conversations and explorations.
I agree. Explorations would be a good way to say it.
Yeah. Very multifaceted. I was reading through the book again, and there was one part that really sat with me, and I was feeling into what an experience was like for you. It's a personal experience that you wrote about, and I was wondering if I read a little bit of it on here, if you would expand a little and just speak to it from that point of your life when, from what I'm reading, it was when that opening started happening, the unbinding began for you. And then the journey is, it speaks for itself of how you live your life and how we facilitate and, do what we do here at Door. Let's see. Okay. Sitting under the presence of the trees, I started to unravel. It was not comfortable to sit with myself and be present with all the meaning I had given to the things that had happened in my life. To find all those pieces that kept me caged and allow reorganization became the only focus. To live in a world that I may not be able to control and may find uncomfortable, terrifying. What was the difference? I was already terrified in every moment. It took me years to recognize all the ways I had given my power away. No one and nothing had taken it. I thought it was because I was afraid of being hurt and unloved. But I came to recognize it was as much about being afraid of how powerful I am. You remember that moment when you sat with a tree? You've shared this story before here and there, but what was it like for you to sit down and really feel the beginning of that unbinding or unraveling, as you said in the book?
Well, I remember the day really clearly because it was the day after I had literally offered myself up to the bears. Being in the very far north country where there's way more bears than there are people, and being so loaded that I did not know which way was up. And it's a good thing I didn't wander out into the bush because I may never have found my way back. I'm always thankful to those dog owners. I woke that day with literally 2 bear dogs under my arms, and my hands were wrapped around these big spiked collars, and they had stuck my arms in the collars because they were worried about me because I was so obstinate and I was so closed. But I remember the sun was shining, the sky was absolutely pristine, the air was as fresh as could be, which was a good thing. I wasn't loaded anymore, but there was this intense clarity that hurt. And
Mm.
I didn't just sit down under the tree. It was all that, the tree held me up, but I slid down the tree, literally scratching my back. And there was no choice in that moment. Either I was going to start opening up or I was going to break.
Mm.
And in breaking, I was quite worried for anyone else that might be affected by that. When we're so spellbound and the energy is so caught in us, when it breaks, that energy has to do something. So it comes out sideways and it literally rips everybody up at the point of where it comes out. So it's not just us that breaks. We end up hurting others.
Mhm.
That energy is going to move. That's at the core of us. So how can we recognize that, one, we're spellbound, and two, what's a very simple way that allows us to release ourselves from that no longer seeking anymore? Because seeking just keeps us reinforcing and keeps us locked up in that patterning. But that day was definitely a turning point. And I remember thinking, there's got to be something better than this. Really, truly. And I also remember thinking that somewhere in my heart, I was committing to being free. So I didn't know how I was going to do that. I didn't know how yet what that was going to, I didn't know how my life was going to change because of that. So I didn't really know what I was doing essentially, but committing to being free, what I was doing was allowing life to bring me all of those pieces that were going to allow me to get free. Because it meant that I had to now start facing everything that had accumulated over the years, everything that I'd picked up on the path walking alongside others. For whatever reason, it was sparkly or it was something that I thought was who I was. So I literally picked up all these rocks on the path that other people had set down and I put them in my backpack until I was so heavy that I couldn't stand. And thank heavens for the tree catching me. I might still be laying on my back, like looking up at the sky because it was so beautiful. But literally, like it was just so heavy. All that spell binding was so heavy. I'm surprised I could even move anymore.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. My life was stagnating. Like I wasn't moving in my life. I wasn't growing at that point. I had just kept locking down because of all the fears. So as soon as I faced this fear of death, because I literally had offered myself up, there was no guarantee I was going to make it through the night. That's just, we had spent the last couple weeks reinforcing the back windows in the cabins and chasing bears off all over the place because they were very aggressive that year and they were like locking individuals into like the root cellar thing. It's like a underground space where food is kept because we didn't have refrigeration. There was no power. So we had spent weeks chasing the bears off and saving and paroling. So I literally had offered myself up. There was nothing else for me to do. It was either break or start opening. So that commitment to freedom that day, it still took me years. It took me years to recognize as many patterns as I have, and I'm not done. It's not like we ever completely finish in my experience, but we get better at recognizing those unknown patterns or those those patterns that we become so familiar with that we have difficulty recognizing them. That was definitely one of the most powerful points in my life. And it's not going to ever be the last one because we keep coming up against these pieces, you know. I know, Jenny, your story is similar. You had a wake up moment where
Mhm.
there was really no choice. It was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, yeah, and I actually said out loud, well, maybe it was in my head at the time. It was so noisy in there that I could never if it was I was saying it or if it was screaming. And I do remember the moment for myself when that happened. It was, oh, I think I was 40, and maybe a couple years before that, I was sitting outside my house and I had gotten to my bottom of bottoms with addiction, substance abuse. And I was sitting outside on my little perch outside my door, smoking my morning cigarette, which is how I started the day, bringing the cloud of whatever substance into my body so that I didn't have to deal with anything. And in that moment, there was a recognition that this is as good as your life is going to get. And it's only going to go down from here if you keep doing this. And it shook me awake. It honestly did. And I don't know how it was for you, but that was a knowing, something that dropped in that wasn't me. It was me, but it was something that I hadn't heard or felt before because I was so resistant, just like you, that letting go and surrendering was more terrifying to me in those days than holding on and sitting in that stagnancy where there was literally no more movement. I had created a container about that big for myself, and there was no, there was no moving any direction anymore.
Yeah.
And so that dropping in, it woke me up, and that's when my life began to slowly turn as well. And the sequence of events brought me to, here I am now, not living that life anymore, many, many, many years later. But it is profound when you do have those moments of clarity.
Well, and they don't happen in a big way for most of
Mm-mm,
us. And,
mm-mm.
I've had many moments since then, but they weren't as dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, they just weren't as dramatic. Like, I quit alcohol that day. Like,
Mm,
there was no, having to wean off. There was no, uh really, alcohol was more important than me surviving or me living. Any of those addictions, that wasn't there was no valuing of self in that, and that recognition, it's a moment that, um, it isn't denied.
yep.
You're not able to deny. I was not able to deny it. I wanna talk about myself because I really, truly was not able to deny it, and I had a lot of people around me that day that went, "Yeah, you can't deny it." This is not good for you. Like, alcohol is not good for you. You don't have the ability to control it. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to control everything else, and the alcohol was kicking my ass. And it
Yeah.
was coming out sideways in all sorts of ways. But it was just an indicator of the spellbinding because the alcohol was an escape from all the censoring and all
Mm,
the people pleasing and all of the ways that I was showing up in survival.
right.
And that to me is again avoiding what you spoke to in the book was avoiding the power. Very seldom are we as a community in our community, are we as worried about failing as we are about being successful? So the fear of failing and the fear of success can be what you bind yourself, how you keep yourself right here in that little box, like Jenny size, right? This is Jenny size. I don't know what size mine was, but I don't think it was much bigger than that. And
Not
so
in the wiggle room.
No wiggle room. We are so locked down and we make excuses.
Well,
I
we overlay. Those
well,
excuses are the overlays.
exactly, because at the core of us, at the absolute core of us, is this incredible brilliance. But if you're afraid of sharing that brilliance, or you're afraid of being rejected or being judged or, having meaning placed on you, of course, there's protective layers that we're going to want to put over the core of us, over the trueness of us. So the amount of layers that I had piled on, again, I couldn't stand up anymore from the weight of it. So
Mm.
maybe my space wasn't maybe like this, it was maybe like this. It was like a little wider and a little flatter because I was laid out at that point. If we could do anything, it would be help others to make it more sustainable, where we don't have to hit rock bottoms quite so hard. It's like boing, you hit it so
Let
hard
us
that
just listen a little better than others. I was
if we could, I don't know if I would have listened.
yeah.
Truly, I
Well,
needed something to wake me up. And a bear in my face, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. I remember hanging with a friend. I like being in nature a lot, and we were out away from the vehicle. We were checking out an area, and all of a sudden there were 3 bears between us and the vehicle, and he literally just turned to me and he said, "I think I can run faster than you." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Seriously?" He's like, "Yeah, seriously. If I have to." I'm like, "Thank you." Um, but it lightened it up a little bit, and I was a little less fearful in that moment, but most of us don't have to come face to face with bears, so we don't get an opportunity to have a little chuckle about it and ease the fear. I do remember thinking that, "May I please just survive
mm,
so that I can learn to thrive?" Because up to that point, I didn't know what thriving was. I barely recognized that I was surviving. But that's all I was really doing because I was not aware of all the places yet where I was spellbound. And it's really challenging. In the book, I talk about this. I read it so many times when I was writing. I'm not quite ready to read it again, but I do remember a part where I'm talking about how the beautiful part is that we spellbind ourselves.
yes.
So that means that we have the power and the control over breaking those bindings. But to recognize them is one of the most challenging places. And if you can come back into your body and you can find those tensions, that's a pretty good indicator that there's spellbinding, that you've spellbound yourself. And if we don't leave it out there by blaming others and we bring it home, it's surprising how fast we can open it back up again. And if we do that, then we can keep it really simple and we can keep it in a very sustainable way so that we can come back to the trueness of ourselves and we can keep revealing. I always say create space and the accumulation will drop away. The accumulation, it doesn't really hold if you continue to create space. It literally falls away on its own. And you're left with greater space, greater capacity, greater ability to love, greater ability to share your message, greater ability to just show up. And if you just show up, magic can happen. But you've done that, Jenny. We've both worked through so many pieces together. And I think it's getting quicker and quicker based on the energies that we're dealing with at this point in time I guess, for the planet or for individuals as a whole. There's an energy that's lifting us up and allowing us to see what's in our accumulation that it's time to create space for, so that we don't have to keep carrying it. We don't have to keep letting it hold us back or keep us spellbound, keep us small. But it's up to us. It's truly up to us.
Yeah.
You just did Freedom Process with a group tonight, and how powerful to be able to have that many individuals that have also felt that shift in themselves. They're willing to commit to freedom as well. And nobody's going to say it's easy. Even taking through someone through Freedom Process, you recognize that it's not super easy. And is it worth doing?
Absolutely. I was having a chat with someone just last night that was wanting some support with something that they were going through. And towards the end of it, we were reflecting a little bit. And she recognized how just in the last year, how much capacity has been built, how much space has been created in herself through using Freedom Process and the somatic breath that we talk about. And she asked me about my journey with something similar that I'd gone through. And I told her, I said, 6 years ago when I was in like felt like the darkness with this similar thing she's dealing with, I had no tools. And it took a while, and there was a lot of um, discomfort that didn't need to happen that I was inflicting on myself because I just didn't have the somatic tools. I had nothing to work with to help me move the energy and to be with it in a way that was sustainable. So I just kept blowing myself up and then having to start over again. And fast forward now, coming back to what you commented on, it's not like there's any less discomfort. There's just something now to meet it with that allows for, like, the body recognizes this, and little by little we come into these areas of our lives, and some of them, as you know, we also talked about this, that there's ones that just keep circulating, that they're deeper ones, and we keep meeting it with the breath. It's so much different than not having that kind of support, whether you're with a group, a facilitator, or by yourself, because ultimately that's where we take it, is giving us the tools to come into it when we're not able to reach out or have someone available. And I'm guessing you didn't have it at this moment in your life. This was, I know, the journey you've been through with somatics, Rolfing, facilitating. The last 30 plus years of your life has been dedicated to supporting people and getting free in their bodies across the spectrum. And the individual in here that was sitting on that tree, she didn't have the tools yet, did she?
No,
No.
no, she didn't have any tools yet. Um, except for maybe one: nature.
Right. Yeah.
Nature's principles. I didn't recognize it then and I didn't call it that then, but there was something about being in nature and feeling the pulse of source that was comforting, that
Mm-hmm.
brought a little bit of peace in each moment, that allowed me to move into the next one and into the next one and keep lifting up my feet and keep moving forward. So that was probably something that I was already recognizing, even though I didn't have languaging for it yet. And we base what we do on nature's principles, right? As nature. But I just want to take a quick little step back and ask everyone that's listening: are you breathing into your sides? So it's not a breath that comes into the front of the body. Like, use your hands as reference on the sides. and push out into the sides, because what happens is your breath becomes multi-directional, multi-dimensional, and it allows energy that's caught in your system to start moving. So you're starting to create space already. You might find discomfort in your body somewhere. All you have to do is just acknowledge it and sit alongside it with your breath. So your ability to be present with whatever discomfort is coming up and your ability to breathe gets things moving already. It can be that simple. Now, yeah, it's hard to find some of those things that maybe you've been doing for 30 years because it's habitual or because it's an aspect of survival for you. But you breathing into the sides, it doesn't have to be crazy. You know, I see all this breath work out there now that it's like, yeah, really big breath and let's get you shaking and let's get you crying. And I'm like, no, because there's so much reinforcing going on. But if you can breathe sustainably into the sides of your body and you start crying, great. Do that. Let the energy move through tears, but keep breathing. If you can't breathe, you're reinforcing. So at that moment that you're breathing into your sides right now, know that you're already starting to create more space for yourself to show up from the trueness of you, not from all those patterns to keep yourself safe and small. Essentially, all those spell binding patterns, all the masks that you wear, all the ways you show up in order to make sure everybody else is okay so that you're okay. I'm saying, screw it. Don't worry about them. Let them figure it out for themselves. Let them breathe into their sides for themselves. It's time for you to own you. It's time for you to own your space. It's time for you to recognize how much more potential there is in you and how much you're leaving on the table. Why would you keep doing that? It's time. Now, I don't get to talk because it happened for me pretty naturally in the beginning. But since then, I have come to learn to love finding those places of tension and discomfort in my body and breathing alongside them because I know what's on the other side of that. Don't take my word for it. Prove it for yourself. Find something that's causing you distress. Find it in your body. Feel it in the qualities that show up. Breathe into the sides of your body and free it. Don't touch it after that. Allow it to reorganize inside of you and then recognize how you're feeling after that. So find the distress, notice how you're feeling that, find it, feel it, free it, allow it, and recognize how you feel on the other end. Chances are you're going to go from heavier to lighter. Sometimes it's just about the shift because you're not always going to feel lighter. But if you watch for that shift and you keep breathing into the sides, you're going to keep creating space and you're going to drop so much accumulation that you're going to come up against a little bit of fear of change or how it will change your life. Or I'm going to say just take one step at a time and move towards your potential, your ability to express fully. Because then what? Anybody who's really, truly part of your world is still going to be there. And some of the people in your life are going to love it so much, they're going to want to join you on this beautiful new path that you've got going. But if you're concerned about leaving others behind, I get that because I've lived through that too. I've made myself small in order to stay in relationship. But you know what? The relationship wasn't authentic. It was just about surviving. It was just about being okay, not being alone.
Or showing
You
up with a mask on at the beginning of that relationship. That's
Our
another
relationship
topic.
intensive is so fun because we get to recognize that honeymoon stage is really just a selling yourself stage where you're, not necessarily showing up authentically. And then you start showing up authentically and you go, well, what happened? Where did the other guy go?
We call
Where did
the representative. You send in the representative.
it's like you're not showing up from your authentic potential and you're saying, hey, this is who I am, and You're okay with that. Well, we're not okay with that for very long. That's why we start asking others to change and we forget to, um, you know, we we forget to ask ourselves to come fully into ourselves. Relationships a huge piece of the freedom process because relationship can be an incredible mirror. It can help you recognize what energy you're coming forth with. So it's not a mirror and it's like a reflective thing. When I'm in relationship and things are going sideways, I know that I've got energy running that says, I'm not valuable or I'm not good enough and how can they meet the energy any differently? Like the energy in them is going to meet the energy that I'm putting out. So that relationship can be so instrumental in giving me opportunity to get free. And I'm very thankful for any relationships that I've been in that have allowed me that because everything that has happened up to that point of me sliding down the tree has been part of that commitment to freedom. And that is me using every aspect of every part of my life in order to recognize where I was spellbound, without a doubt. And Jenny, we were talking about this the other night, and you had you had noticed where you had made a shift in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. Yes. And then the issue I was having with the other person
That's what we say.
magically transformed, and they, on their own accord, came up and, for whatever it's worth, I honestly didn't need it even when I was in my moment, but just gave a nice, authentic apology for how they were, um, how they were reacting to something. And it was beautiful because all I did was excuse myself in the moment that it happened, felt the tension, let the mind stir up all sorts of stories, and I just dropped it in the body and breathed alongside it. And it moved through, and I was be able to re-enter into that relationship um, clean.
Yeah.
And I wasn't surprised because I've had this experience several times since doing this of that happening, and then the other person, I'm using air quotes just because it's never the other person, coming of their own accord and doing what, making amends, doing something for them that wasn't for me, and receiving it gracefully and then carrying on without having to make a fuss about anything. It feels so good, and it's not, doesn't have to be a big deal either way. It's very, very empowering for both people.
Well, and you didn't give your power away by blaming the other person.
Mm-mm.
You didn't give your power away by victimizing yourself because it was the other person. You did not give your power away in that moment. You came back to your breath and presence with yourself. And that's one of the most simple things you can do to quit giving your power away. Like, if you don't enjoy your sex life, how about you bring that home instead of blaming the other person? If you're not sharing your message and you're wondering why the world isn't, welcoming you and all your beautiful art or all your beautiful words or all, at what point are you willing to bring it home? Are you willing to quit giving your power away to what other people think? Seriously, there's so many people that are just looking to give meaning to something. That's what they, get off on. Your job is to not concern yourself with the meaning that other people might give to what you do or don't do, but can you drop the meaning yourself? Because
Yes.
that's essentially the responsible aspect of this freedom process is you no longer victimizing yourself inside, like with the thoughts that are coming through this mind. Use your mind for something more productive is what I'm going to say. instead of giving your power away by blaming and giving all this meaning that just weighs you down. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be so caging, so spellbinding. It, the fears that you have about being successful versus the fears that you have about failing, they're no different. They're really, truly just opposite sides of the same coin. They both lock you in. They both create a space Jenny size. So, can you recognize that your breath can be the first thing that you go to? You take it everywhere with you, your body and your breath. You've always got that. Okay? There's not too many experiences that I've experienced where I didn't have my breath. There were times when I chose not to use it, or I was so wrapped up, or I was totally being indulgent in the story, so I didn't use the breath, but it's just there for you. It's always available. It's the way you're designed is to breathe into your sides. If you look at the anatomy of it, you look at the physiology of it, we're not really designed to be like belly breathers or big chest breathers out into the front. We are designed, our bodies are designed to breathe out into the side. And when you do that, you access all of your body plus all of the systems in your body. You want to be working optimally? Make sure you get that breath moving out into the sides. But at what point are we done indulging these stories that cause us to suffer? We're giving all our power away to the stories. Are you ready, Jenny? Are you on board with no longer indulging the stories?
Oh, of course. And anything else where I'm getting some sort of pleasure or enjoyment out of being a certain way
A
that's
bitch,
not
you mean?
actually, pardon?
Anywhere that you're being a bitch, that you're enjoying being a bitch, I'll go
Yeah,
on that one. I have moments where I'm just being a bitch and I know it, and I'm like, this is how I'm gonna be right now. Too bad.
conscious bitch versus default bitch.
That's a great way to say it. You know, it's okay to be a bitch. And can you breathe alongside it? Because chances are it'll change and you won't feel quite like being so much of a bitch anymore. But it
Yeah.
doesn't decrease what we're capable of, does it?
No.
To be free doesn't mean you're not going to experience anger or you're not going to experience rage. You're not going to experience bliss. It doesn't mean that. You're going to still have the whole range. It's just that it's not going to get caught in your body and cause a whole bunch of disease or a whole bunch of patterning that locks you in and tends to come out sideways. I don't know one person that's been able to create this box where there's no wiggle room that hasn't come out sideways, one
It's
way or
got to
another.
come out somehow.
The energy's moving. Energy's meant to move. And every emotion, all that meaning we give to it, again, it can lock it in. It can cause spellbinding. I'm a miserable person. I'm a sad person. I'm a perky person. All of that is locked in. There's not a lot of range to a perky person. Sorry for those of you that are perky, but there's just not a lot of range. Don't you want your range back? Don't you know, I am committing to expressing through that range, through
Hmm.
the personality that gets to show up. So be perky if you would like, but also give yourself back that anger that's justified, that just moves through you and creates this beautiful energy. And then you're into the next moment where the anger has been expressed and you're good to go. So you don't get locked in anger for 30 or 40 years. Yeah, I might know that one personally.
Yeah. Just a little, huh?
Yeah, just a little.
Mm.
Today's just the next day. Today's another day that we can come into the breath. I'm going to remind everybody, are you breathing? Are you breathing into your sides? Because as we're having these conversations, check it out. See if there's any tension in your body that shows up. we're not going to just talk about the book some days. We would like to help you find where the tensions are that you're not familiar with because you're so used to them, or that maybe you didn't recognize as tensions. We'd like to help you find those so that you can freedom process the heck out of them and get yourself free. Bring yourself back into your potential.
Feels like that's what we're here to do anymore. You literally can't wiggle out of that one. It doesn't feel like it, anyways, in my experience with what's been happening out there, around, in and through. Um, this book is really amazing. I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed the journey when you were writing it, and there is a section in here that has a freedom process session in it that's really it's helpful, and it's easy, and it's clear. And I believe this can be found, there's an actual website dedicated to the book, spellboundnomore.com, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and it can be found on Amazon as well. But check out spellboundnomore.com. And is there a little rumor that there's a audiobook coming out shortly?
I'm going to say yes to that.
Is that a work in progress?
It is a little bit of a work in progress. I've got a few projects going on right now. So that will be the desire very soon to have the audiobook. And then there's another book coming as well. But essentially this one, it's more than the flagship book because it's the book that we use in order to support facilitators
Mm-hmm.
of the freedom process so that they can help others to come into this as well. Let's face it, we could use a lot less bitchiness in the world. Couldn't we? And we sure could use a lot less fear in the world. I
Yeah.
can hardly believe the amount of fear that's being projected
Mm-hmm.
or played with. And when you have freedom process, the book in your back pocket, away you go. It doesn't matter what fear comes up, you can use freedom process alongside it. You just have to be willing to find it in your body. And you do not have to know the details. Like, this is one of the things I love about it because we don't have to go back into the story. We literally can embody this space through the breath. And I don't know about you, Jenny, but when I first started doing the somatic breath, it was actually not that long after. Well, my back had healed at that point, but it wasn't that long after I'd offered myself to the bears that I came across some really incredible mentors and teachers. And I started diving into somatics. And at that point, it wasn't called necessarily somatic healing, but the principles of somatics were part of what helped me come back into my body instead of spending this time cycling and haunting myself with all the thoughts that were projected and that I'd picked up and that I was playing with and indulging in my mind. But the somatics were a huge piece about me coming back into nature's principles consciously.
Yes.
So I was able to use that. And in my experience, when I came into somatics, I started really owning my space. This wasn't so locked up anymore. And the tissue within my body started unwinding where I had been literally locking it down. So it's not just emotional, mental release, it's also the body structurally coming back into its space. So I think my body wasn't fully developed when I started somatics. And then as I was working with somatics, my body actually started taking space. My shoulders started sitting where they were. My hips widened just a little bit, being in a female body. there were things in my body that finished developing. And as a rolfer, I recognized that because that also helped me to come more fully into and own and start recognizing all the parts of my body more completely, and coming into uh, allowing
Mm.
allowing the body to move in the way that it's designed, in allowing the depth of my breath to support me and travel with me, instead of just, okay, I'm not breathing over here because I'm freaking out because I've got social anxiety. And then, okay, I'm not with those people anymore. I'm away from that. So now I can breathe. I was able to start taking the breath into those places where social anxiety was a factor.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a best friend for me. That multidimensional breath that you can take with you everywhere you go, and allows you to come into the trueness of you. Play with the book. I know you, Jenny, you just open it sometimes.
I do. I actually use it as a divination tool sometimes, and I'll just close my eyes and open. And there's, oh, here, you want me to read what I opened to it now? This would
Okay.
be a good thing to wrap up with. The path that one takes to avoid something is often the path that leads directly to it. Dun, dun, dun. So just those little reminders are so, they're just golden little nuggets.
We could be here for hours, me talking about the ways I tried to avoid it and it caused it to be right in my face.
Well, it follows you everywhere. It just won't leave you alone. So might as well face it. You're gonna have to breathe with it at some point, right? We talked about that too. There's at some point there's gonna be a stopping to come and face up to that thing, whatever it is. And why not use the breath and the body to just include all of yourself? Stop leaving yourself behind in one way or another. You can gently bring each piece in. And it makes a really big difference. It did for me, and it continues to.
Yeah.
Just like how you shared with your story.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Spellbound No More can uh, help you catch it before you put yourself face to face with the bears,
It's a great read.
whatever the bears represent for you.
It's a good analogy. The bears.
Weren't mama bears by any means.
Mm.
I so appreciate showing up, being able to share this time. Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great chat.
We'll do this again real soon.
Sounds
A
good.
little less bitchiness hanging off our tails.
You know.
Every single day, we get a little freer and freer. Bye for now. See you on the path. We don't give you answers. We ask the questions that open doors to your deepest knowing. It is about realigning with nature's way, the way that has always been here, bold, raw, and always with love. Thanks for sharing your time with us. You can find immersions, community, and support. Join the Doorway community today at door.co, daur.co.